You are listening to the O'Brien and Bolt podcast. It's that time of year when people are working on their home projects. So we thought it'd be a good time to talk to Mr. Fix-It. Mr. Fix-It, welcome to the program.
Well, hello, Michael. Why, it's so good to see you again and get to see you in person. What a treat for me.
You are somebody who provides usually useful information.
I do my best. You know, there are a lot of people out there that just don't know much about the way of just keeping up the house, the TLC that goes along with ownership, the pride of ownership, or even if you're a renter, for goodness sake, sometimes you can talk to the owner of the place that you're living and maybe say, listen, I'll paint the living room for you if you give me a $5 discount off the monthly rent or whatever. You can bargain.
So there's a lot of things that you can do yourself, and you are...
Oh, sure, and I think we've talked about those things many times on your program.
Yes,
before.
we have.
We talked about
how to fix
first time I was on your program. I think we got lots of response about the washing machine, the unstable, the wobbly washing machine, and that, of course, led us right into the dryer. You know, and what did we, Michael, do you remember what we did to remedy that situation?
Well, I think we used a shim.
We used a shim, you're right.
Now, why don't you recap just briefly, very briefly, what a shim is?
A shim, and again, because we got one phone call, somebody that thought I said shiv.
Yeah, right.
Like that's not, you don't do that. No. You're going to, because you know what a shiv is, don't you?
Well, I know it's...
Well, of course you do. You've been in jail. You've probably been in jail.
I don't talk about that.
Well,
it's usually a gun or something.
Your secret's safe with me.
It's a weapon that is modeled out of a bar of soap or wood or something, isn't it?
Well, that'd be a bar of soap still, really it would, but shiv is...
I've never been in prison, so I don't know. I'm just making that up.
There's still plenty of time.
Yeah. Okay,
from what I understand,
so we talked about
your secret private life,
right.
but we're not going to go there.
There's
no need to.
We're not going there.
Need to talk about that. What you do in your private life is your own business, as long as it stays on this side of the law.
Right. So we're going to keep this short.
I would be responsible. I would be. It would be going against the way I was brought up, and I was brought up by a very nice couple.
I'm sure you
adopted. I was.
So
embarrassed about that. Pardon me.
Focusing on the reason that you are here today, Mr. Fix-It, that is to give some advice on projects.
Well,
we talked about how to fix a wobbly dryer, and then it was a wobbly washing machine.
SHIM, not a V. That's an M at the end of that. SHI.
Right.
That's a shim, and that's what we use to stabilize both the washer and the dryer.
Right.
But today we're going to go outside.
Oh, good idea. Now the weather has been extreme.
Let's take a walk around our garden.
Okay. Now, what do you see when you walk around the garden?
We've had some terrific wind bursts lately, Michael. I don't know if you've been outside in the last couple of weeks or so, but up to 150 miles per hour on some of the top peaks in the Bay Area here. I'm just talking about the Bay Area, but it's windy all over the world. Of course, global change and climate and all that kind of thing, where we're not going to talk politics right now or the environment. We're just going to talk about how it affects us personally on a more personal level. The other day I was walking around my garden, and of course the daphnes in full bloom, beautiful plant, very aromatic. But guess what happened?
I don't know.
Well, the fence fell down on the plant.
A common problem right now.
Right now it sure is. Well, how do you fix the fence that blew down in the wind?
How do you fix the fence?
Well, you figure out why it blew down in the first place. Of course, the wind's strong, but a good fence should be able to withstand the wind gust, even if they are up to 150 miles per hour. If the fence was built properly.
All right.
So of course, over the course of time, you know, things do have a way of changing, and nature takes its course, and boom, right there. And then that night, 2, 3 in the morning, I'd just gotten home, but that fence was down on the Daphne.
So first thing you do is you examine the fence. And so why did your fence come down?
Scratch your head, shrug your shoulders, wonder why.
All right. So let's... Okay.
No, it's kind of a metaphor for a lot of the things that are happening in our lives. And, you know, I think it was in the Bible, there's an old adage, a proverb, and I think it was Abraham Lincoln that said, good fences make good neighbors.
Well, it might have been. It could have been Ben Franklin, too. But in any event, so you found your fence. It's wobbly.
Well, we don't have time to research that right now. We're live on the air, aren't we?
Absolutely, and this is precious time. So the fence is down. What do you do?
Well, you got to get it back up, don't you? Well, you want to get it off the plant right away.
I guess my question...
Ouch, says the plant, if the plant could speak. Of course, there has been some research that indicates plants do have a voice, though it can't be heard by the human ear. But in some strange way, they are able to communicate with other plants. Maybe a bee or two buzz.
So what kind of tools should you have when you're going to be repairing your fence?
Well, probably the simplest tool, the easiest tool, are the tools you've got right here. Look at this.
Oh, well, you mean you're pointing at...
That's a bicep.
Oh, I wasn't quite sure what
bicep muscle.
I thought you were pointing at your jacket.
Well, let me take off my sweater.
No, please don't. That's okay.
Pardon
me? That's okay. That's all right.
You've got to use the old, put your elbow to the grease paint.
Okay.
And use your own muscles and pick that fence up and get it off the plant first and foremost. And then you just got to set it up right.
All right. How do you do that?
Well, in the world of appliances we talked about a couple of weeks ago, or maybe a month ago now, you'd use a shim. But outside on a fence, you can't use a shim, but you've got to use what would be considered the equivalent of a shim to keep that fence stabilized, upright, until you can figure out how to keep it upright for good.
So you're telling me you just stay out there in the backyard holding it up until you can figure it out?
Well, you've got to get it off the plant, don't you?
Well, yes, but you're going to get tired.
Well, I didn't come here to argue with you.
Well, we're not arguing. I'm just trying to visualize how you actually repair this.
Well, you've got to get it up.
Fence of yours.
Okay, you get a rope made out of hemp or maybe a cloth. You got to secure that fence up and get off the plant.
Okay.
Then and only then do you worry about what to do next. To do next?
And what
That's
do you do?
That's the question you ask yourself.
And the answer to that would be, what do you do next?
Keep it off the plant.
Okay.
Keep it upright.
Now, before you go, I just wanted to ask, how do you get your neighbor involved?
The rope will hold it up there for a while. Maybe a wire cable. Fix that to a tree.
Sure.
Tree branch, a solid tree, not a little twig or a bush or a brush. Never could figure out the difference between brush and bush.
Right. Now, fences usually border...
Just the letter R, you put it anywhere you want.
Usually a fence borders to a property line, and so it's...
Good neighbors make good fences.
How do you get your neighbor involved in working on a fence? Who is actually responsible for the fence if it is right on the property line?
If the fence, and this is a very good question, and I can't tell you how many times I don't get asked that question.
Well,
I don't get asked it. But I have an answer for you.
Okay.
Is the fence directly on the property line? Maybe you need to hire a surveyor, get out there to see just exactly where the property line is. But if you and your neighbor are on good terms and you do have a good fence, you probably got a pretty good neighbor, you split the cost right down the middle.
Well, that just sounds downright sensible.
Well,
and coming from you, I'm kind of speechless.
How much time do we have?
That's unfortunately all the time we have, Mr. Fix-It. Time will never get back. You've been listening to O'Brien and Bolt, the podcast. I'm Michael O'Brien.
And I'm Geoff Bolt.
And our job is to entertain
as well as inform.
You know, if you like what you heard today, please give us a big thumbs up on your source for
all your podcasts.
And you can find us on Facebook at O'Brien and Bolt. Thanks.